On the news. Martin Frizzell is in West London to tell us more. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, Anne, from my drawing room. I'm afraid I wish it was, if it only were true. Now, this is the Coach House, a very reputable antique shop in West London, but sadly, it's not all like that at all. Now, for our investigation, of course, this is the time of year when people may need that extra money. They may find an old heirloom or something lying in the attic. They may think, perhaps this will get me an extra Christmas present. And we're talking about an industry, of course, the antiques business, which has some 7 television programs on the go at any one time. And of course, the Antiques Roadshow being the biggest of all. And the question everybody wants to know is, how much is it worth? That may well be the question that you're asking. And we asked that too. We asked that of several antique dealers, and we took along just a couple of items. In particular, we took along this 1930 Anne-Marie handbag. Now, there's an identical one of these in the Victoria and Albert Museum. And we also took along this. It's a Chanel brooch in its box. That comes from the 1920s, both Art Deco pieces. Now, in this short film, you're going to see, first of all, we go to a reputable dealer from Butler & Wilson who tells us what these things are worth, and then we have a chat with some, well, shall we say, some lovejoys.
Hi, I wonder if you could have a look at these and value them for us.
Sure.
That's the handbag.
I think it's probably made in the 30s. There's a lot of people that I know, collectors, that would kill to get this. But this is quite a famous bag, but I've heard that somebody's been willing to pay up to £2,000 for these.
There's one more piece here I wonder if you could take a look at.
Oh, Chanel.
What do you make of that?
Okay, so this is Chanel. This is an early piece. It's made in lead, and it's early because if you see on the back, the early pieces, this is probably from 1920s, it's scripted writing Chanel. With the Chanel lettering, that lets you know how early it is. Could be £1,500, £2,000, maybe more.
Our team took the pieces to Brighton, famous for its antique shops, wanting to find out what we'd be offered as a member of the public. With a figure of £2,000 in mind for the handbag, we took it to a specialist dealer.
What can I offer you?
I mean, I'm kind of in your hands, really.
Well, £20 for the bag.
Is that all? Is that all it's worth?
Well,
I just have a quick think about it, and then if I mean, maybe that's best thing
I
to
don't
do.
mind. I mean, I'll give a bit more. I'll give a bit more for it.
Right. And what would be the most, do you think?
Like £30.
Right.
I'd be quite, happy to pay 30.
Right.
Next, we took the handbag and the brooch, which we even put in a Chanel box, to Church Street in London, also well known for its Art Deco dealers. Remember, the brooch has Chanel written on it. Our producer feigned poor eyesight and said he couldn't read it.
He's not Chanel, that's not Chanel mark on the back.
Oh, really? And what about the bag?
It was quite fun, but...
Oh yes, it is a bit of fun. Worth more than a £5. About 15 quid for the 2 pieces, I think.
And for a final valuation, we went to the Antiquarius Market in London's West End. It's full of specialist dealers.
I mean, I do buy things like this. Let me have a look. If it's Chanel, I'll be interested.
All right. Oh, yeah,
No, it's not Chanel, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
I mean, it's basically costume jewellery.
Right.
I think this is 1960s.
Right.
25 for 2?
25 for the 2 together.
Yeah, it's not that. I mean, but you can work it out. I prefer the bag. I prefer the bag because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not being rude, but if you had something good, and if I thought it was worth £1,000, I would offer you 9.
Yeah.
I really would.
Well, completely wrong. These are actually very valuable items. This in the Victoria and Albert Museum. This is actually catalogued in old Chanel brochures. So we know what we're talking about. They clearly did not. Let's join Malcolm Hort, who's the Chief Executive of the London and Provincial Antique Dealers Association. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning, Martin.
Were those dealers, were they just ignorant, or was there something more sinister at work here?
Well, I haven't seen the film before, but I think there are 2 points to make. First one is, if they were specialists, perhaps they should have recognised the items for what they were. And if they did recognise them for what they were, I can't understand why they put such a low value on it.
Now, of course, when we say the Antiques Roadshow, everybody wants to know, when they go into a shop, what are these things worth? I mean, how can you be guaranteed? If you don't want to sell something to an antique dealer, where do you go? We just picked 3 off the street there, and we got a very bad deal.
Yes, you appear to have done so. Just let me give you a few tips, if I may. First one is, go to a dealer who specialises in the item that you're wishing to sell, and if you don't know who those are, one of the national associations can give you a name. I think the second tip is always to go and take 2 or 3 quotes or valuations for the item you're selling. I think also do a little bit of research before you go. There are several good price guides published which won't tell you the price of the thing or the value, but will give you a guide, and I think that's important. And the fourth one I would recommend is you do go to a member of one of the two major national associations. In my case, the LAPADA members. We are the biggest association, and they have been selected for membership because we have evaluated their integrity, knowledge, experience. They've signed up to a code of practice, and if all does go wrong, there is a conciliation process we run where if there's trouble, we can try and sort it out for people.
Great, Malcolm. Thank you very much indeed. So there are the tips for you. If you can, go to a reputable dealer, of course, and these are the two items that we had. And in case you think that, oh, the antiques business is, who really cares about that? Let me tell you that £2.2 billion it was worth last year. That's more than the whole British record industry put together. More than the Spice Girls. Imagine that.
Imagine that, Martin. For now, thank you very much. Now, we did ask the dealers that we visited in that film for their response. Unfortunately, the owner of Jezebel Antiques in Brighton is abroad and unavailable for comment. However, V4 Decorative Arts said, I don't deal in these things. I could not see Chanel written on the brooch you showed me, and I had no idea of the value. I don't do buying in that market. I wasn't being dishonest. Even if I had known it was Chanel, I wouldn't have paid any more. I've been up since 6 o'clock that morning, and Art Deco covers a very wide field. Well, then we asked Beverley Antiques in London for their response, and they said, I don't know about things like that. I deal in pottery and glass. Now then, if you have something that you want us to investigate, then you can always write to it at this address. It's GMTV Investigations, Upper Ground.